Joining me now for more on this, Simon Jackman, CEO of the US Studies Centre. It's been a real fall from grace for Rudy Giuliani. This appears to just be another blow.
Yeah, and moreover, social media was alerting me to the fact that it's 35 years to the day since Roy Cohen lost his law licence, who had also represented Donald Trump at a much earlier stage of Donald Trump's career. The parallels there are rather striking. But Giuliani and Trump himself also, Tom, facing legal jeopardy in New York City, New York State, among other jurisdictions.
Yeah, Roy Cohen, quite the figure. Look him up on if you don't know much about him. Moving on to Joe Biden, though, Simon. Look, his defence budget getting a lot of attention. Big money spent, but short term for the Indo-Pacific. Is this going to be concerning for Australia?
Yeah, so this is interesting, Tom. Our team here at the US Studies Centre, our foreign policy and defence team led by Ash Townsend, one thing we track very, very closely is US defence spending, and indeed that portion of US defence spending that is coming to Hawaii and points west. And one thing, despite a lot of talk from the US administration about the priority of China in US defense planning and US foreign policy strategic thinking more generally, are the dollars coming into back it in. And there's a bit of argy-bargy between a bipartisan group on Capitol Hill that are determined that a dedicated stab of money be sent to service that part of the US mission. And then I think a little bit of intense policy debate that isn't really percolating into the public domain about how exactly does the US give voice to its stated ambition to meet and match China. You've got the problem of a very expensive way of delivering American military presence through its conventional battleship-grade legacy systems, plus the need to stand up that next generation of technology to out-innovate and out-develop China. And all of that is incredibly expensive. And where do the dollars go to deliver the most bang for the buck? And of course, the thing that we're focused on here in Australia is very much shorter to medium-term concerns. In particular, the Navy assets that are based in Honolulu, and again, other assets based in Guam, are they going to get the attention they need from the Pentagon and from the US political system more generally in a very short to medium term sense? There's, yes, develop those long-term platforms, but where are we tracking in the very short term? And keep an eye on that space. I think there's going to be some really interesting developments there that as this comes to a head, with defence planning, and as both Capitol Hill and the Biden administration have to figure out where they're going to draw the line on where the dollars go. Something that we here at the US Study Centre are tracking awfully closely, Tom.
Right, and this is huge because when you talk about the US now back on the world stage and trying to provide, the alternative to China on any number of things, think climate, think, infrastructure, and the brick and road initiative, Belt and Road, I should say, initiative for China. But at the same time, America's budget, right, their debt's spiralling, and you can't get budget bills passed that are going to save money. You can only get spending bills passed in the US. Is that day coming when the US is just going to look like it can't afford to do what it says it wants to do?
The short answer is yes, but it seems that day just keeps getting pushed out and pushed out. While the US remains the world reserve currency, its ability to sell debt either to its own people or to the globe is still there, and indeed tremendous latitude, very permissive settings, you might say, on monetary policy as well, very accommodative settings from reserve banks around the world that allow the US, at least in the short term, and indeed Australia too, by the way, to have our cake and eat it when it comes to spending, particularly in response to the pandemic and beyond. The particular rub here, though, Tom, is the configuration, two real drivers. One is just how expensive it is to be the world's leading military superpower, that is the United States of America. Yes, that kit is best of breed, best in world history we've seen, but at a ridiculous price tag. Sustaining legacy systems, not doing anything innovative, just standing still with their capacity. hundreds and hundreds, almost $1 trillion a year, certainly $1 trillion a year in Australian dollars. And then you've got the added challenge of how do we get down the runway faster than China on those next-gen technologies, and the price tag just goes up even higher. Can the US do both of those things at once? And there's an awful lot at stake for Australia in the answer to that question, and hence no surprise that both sides of Australian politics understand the challenge and how there's no way you look at that equation, Tom, and say, we're going to have to do more for ourselves. And as we've gone to 2% GDP going to defence, I think we're going to keep tracking north of that number for the foreseeable future.